Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi if you are new here. I am a former student athlete. I played college basketball. That is a lot of the topics on my channel right now. That is something I enjoy talking about and putting content out about because it's not super talked about. We're here to talk about it, and today I kind of want to talk about a few of the things that I learned from being a student athlete. We won't do too much of the obvious with, you know, like time management and discipline and all of that. That's something that you do get from being a student athlete. I'm going to talk about a few of the things that I got through my experiences and kind of like helped create the person I am today, because I'm definitely not the same person I was as a freshman, and change is good. Change in every sense of the word is good. I'm a big proponent of getting out of your comfort zone. Like, I left my hometown, my home state, to go to 2 different universities, and that's like a challenge in its own. I think it's made me a much better person, and I think that's something that college basketball taught me, because at one of the camps I went to one of the schools I was interested in, they talked about like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that is something I kind of embraced in college. Really tried to not be afraid of change. And so number one in all of my lessons with this is embracing change. You know, the new school, a new city, driving in Miami, I am more than okay with changing my situation so that I can grow from it, because obviously without uncomfort and without change there is no growth. And so that is number one for me, is that I learned growth really comes out of change. Something for me that I learned is that change and being in new situations that you're a little bit afraid of really make you a confident person in the end, and really help you to understand like what you want in life. And it really helps you to figure those things out, because if you don't put yourself in that situation, you won't know. You won't know if you like it or not, or if it's a really good thing for you. So that's number one. I would say number two is that I already had like a little bit of a tough skin, or like I've like mentioned, I didn't have like the strongest backbone. But in college and in college basketball, I definitely strengthened that, and I stand up for myself a bit more now. Some of my issues that I hate confrontation, and I hate having those situations, and so sometimes I let the fear of confrontation get in the way of me standing up for myself. On top of that, really like starting to understand my self-worth and like who I want in my life. I think the biggest thing for me with getting more of a backbone and being more confident in myself is understanding how I'm going to be treated, not letting people like walk all over me, or just letting people get away with things because I'm afraid of confrontation. That kind of wraps into point number one about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so that is something I have been trying to do over the years, and it's something now, especially that I'm an adult, I'm trying to make sure that like I stand up for myself and like what I believe in and how I'm going to be treated by anyone. Not just, this isn't just like, you know, with a boyfriend or any type of relationship like that. That's any relationship in your life. You need to be okay with not having those relationships if that person does not want to see eye to eye with you, or like does not want to treat you the way you think you should be treated. Yeah, that's something I'm still really trying to get into, but that's an important one. Point 3 with that being that it is okay to put yourself first. That is something, all of these points I'm gonna make, they kind of go with each other. That's something that I'm learning, is to put myself first, and sometimes that is very difficult for me. That was difficult for me on the court. I was a very team player, like I could take over, but at the same time I was gonna make a better pass if my shot like wasn't there or something like that. But in life also, like putting yourself first, an example of that would be like deciding to switch grad programs because it's not what I want, or I'm not happy, choosing to move to Florida, choosing if I want to move somewhere else, you know, like that is putting me in like my situation first, putting yourself first, and knowing what you want. And if you don't want something, being okay with like letting someone else know that that's not something you're interested in, or that's not something you believe in. I think like with point 3, being like putting yourself first is really important, because it is your life and you are the one that's going to live through whatever situation, whatever consequences. And so being able to put yourself first, that was something I was so excited about. When I finally graduated and my eligibility ended, I was very excited to put myself first and to do what I wanted and when I wanted to do it and how I wanted to do it. I did let my job like take over my mind sometimes, but I'm working on that. And this is something, obviously I'm still actively working on all of these, but point 3 especially, putting myself first is something that I'm really trying to do because I'm 24. I'm really trying to like make my life, and you can't do that if you're not putting yourself first, especially at my age. You know, I could talk about this. I have a lot of insecurities about like kind of the way my life is. Obviously that goes along with a little bit of FOMO, the perception on social media, because a lot of people my age like have houses and like all of that, but like my situation is different, and so I'm trying to put myself first and not let other things around me influence that. And then point number 4 is being okay with people leaving your life that don't need to be in it. It's okay for people to not be in your life if it's just not meant to be. And sometimes that hurts. Like one of my best friends when we were younger, she moved away and then she came back to our hometown in high school. We're never the same, and she was going through a lot, and so she made the choice to like cut me out of her life because of whatever situation she was going through, and we were in very different places in our life, and we've recently like talked about it. You know, as hard as that was for me, I can appreciate her situation and how she explained it. I respect her decision. It was obviously very difficult for me because I wasn't really like ready for that, and I wasn't really aware that that was happening, and so, but I respected her decision. I would reach out once in a while. Having that talk the other day kind of like made me realize that, you know, if someone is meant to be in your life, they will be in your life, and if they're not meant to be in your life, you know, they won't. And it's okay for you like to make that decision for yourself, even though the other person might not want it. Like my friend, for an example, I wanted to be best friends still. Like I wanted to be there for her for like whatever she was going through. She didn't want me involved in that for her reasons, and I respect her reasons, and that's completely fine. And that's something I am learning. That's something that was always tough with me with some of my coaches, is that I think that I have to like let them in my life, learning that I don't have to make everyone happy and that I don't have to have people in my life. I think learning people come into your life for purposes, and that if they're not meant to be there any longer because of your choice or their choice is something that will let you kind of like have a better mindset around it. And that is something that I struggled with a little bit, is like understanding that I don't have to make every situation work, even if like I don't want to or I'm uncomfortable with it. And number 5, here, we'll just go right into number 5. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't owe anyone anything, and no one owes you anything. And that's something that I struggled with because I always felt like I had to give that person a second chance, or that person the benefit of the doubt, or, you know, they needed to be in my life because of X, Y, and Z. And I don't feel that way anymore. If someone doesn't like something I say, talk it out, and they still don't agree, that's fine. We don't have to agree. I will still keep you in my life if that's what you want, and if you don't want, that's okay. For an example, if someone were to get upset at something I said in a video, even though I don't say names or anything, and they reach out, we could have that conversation. I also don't necessarily owe someone my time. They don't owe me their time. And that's something that I have struggled with, especially like always being an athlete. It's really hard for me to like not say something and like be worried about if someone's gonna be upset. But if I don't agree with the way a coach treated me, or if I don't agree with the way things went down and I choose to not have them in my life, I don't owe them an explanation. I don't owe them anything to talk to them about what they did wrong, because we've already talked about it more than likely. When we first split ways, we more than likely talked about it. And so I don't owe anyone an explanation. Now that if someone sees a video, or if someone like hears something, I don't owe you an explanation 6 or 8 years, 10 years later. Like, you knew how I felt in the moment and you chose not to talk about it then, so I don't want to talk about it now. And that's something that I'm really like trying to learn. All of these like play into each other, and it's really like truly being like confident in yourself, understanding your worth. And as you get older, that's obviously a bit easier, and having these experiences have really helped me with that. My boyfriend is very different from me. He was naturally like that kind of like his whole life, and so that has helped me a lot, like watching him. That is something I'm working on, and I've struggled with that with people, obviously like coaches a little bit, because the perspectives are so different. As a coach, you know, you have a lot of things going on you might not realize, or you might not care. That's fine. But as a player, that doesn't invalidate my feelings, you know? And on top of that, point number 6, this will be a little extra one. Your feelings are valid. Every situation is different, and there's obviously 2 sides between you and someone else in a situation. And just because they don't agree or you don't agree with them does not mean your feelings are invalid and their feelings are invalid. And that's something that people like to play down or think that just because they have their feelings that you need to have them too. And so in a situation, if me and a coach don't agree, like if my feelings about the way that I was treated or the way things were done are valid because that's my experience. And if they don't agree because they saw it differently, their feelings are valid, and that's okay. And I think people get so caught up in trying to like fix things, and we have to hash it out, and we have to come to an agreement. And it's okay to not come to an agreement. It's okay to stick with yourself and be true in your feelings and not have to give up the way you feel for other people. And I've done that so many times just because I don't like confrontation. And I've done that so many times because I just wanted this situation to be good and like everything be fine. But in doing that, my feelings weren't validated, and I felt worse because it was like just bringing up all the emotions, and it wasn't solving anything for anyone. These are the 6 main things that I've learned, growing up. Obviously, these are things you kind of like naturally learn, but in basketball or in college sports, for an example, you have a lot more opportunity to have these experiences early, like when you're 18 trying to figure it out, especially if you're away from home. You're the one dealing with your coach. Your parents shouldn't be dealing with the coach. And so I always would go and talk to my coach if I had a problem, and I would be pretty honest. Because if I'm going to go in there and talk to you about it, it's because I've exhausted all of my own things. I've been in the gym. I've made every sprint. I'm early. I'm never late. I put in full effort. You ask me to do it, I do it. And if it's still, if something's still not adding up in my mind, then I'll go speak to you. I'm not just going to go to you and complain about my playing time. Or why did Jenny play over me? I'm not going to do that. Because, we're all here to compete. Those situations have really taught me these 6 things. And I hope that someone else can relate to this or kind of take some of these things, because sometimes it's really hard to see it and tell yourself that your feelings are valid. And if the other person doesn't feel the same, that is okay. It's always okay to agree to disagree. And on that note, I hope these 6 things help someone else that maybe was struggling with it like me. Obviously, I still am actively going through this, or someone just relates because I just needed to get it out there. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.